Points don't matter. Now, jumping into team preview, Nick on the left with that Porygon 2, Tapu Koko, Arcanine, Gyarados, Garchomp, and Snorlax. Again, that is going to be his older brother's North American International Championship team as well. Over on Tomas' side, it's going to be the Hariyama, Oranguru, Torkoal, Lucario, Gigalith, and Celesteela.
So I think Tomas' strategy going into this battle is going to be to focus on picking the best possible moves for the Pokemon on his team. If you take a look at the team on the Pokemon website, you might notice that a lot of his strategy revolves around, being able to make the right calls and set himself up so that he will be able to keep dealing damage. Whereas Nicholas, he has so much flexibility, he can switch things out. He has the Arcanine and the Gyarados for the potential of just cycling Intimidates over and over and over again to weaken Tomas's physical attackers.
And here we are getting underway. Tomas going to lead with Hariyama and Oranguru. A priority for him will be to set up that Trick Room. Gyarados and Snorlax are going to be the leads for Nicholas Khan. Snorlax really enjoying a Trick Room, possibly.
Yeah, Snorlax perfectly happy to stay on the field with the Trick Room. Gyarados can carry a move like Taunt, which would stop Oranguru from getting a Trick Room up, provided it's not holding an item such as that Mental Herb. But more importantly, I think Nicholas is going to just try and get some damage down onto the field. Tomas can use his Hariyama's Fake Out to stop one of these Pokemon from attacking this turn. That's what it's doing.
Here it is. The Fake Out lands on that Gyarados as Oranguru going for a taunt here. Ooh, gonna prevent that Snorlax from being able to set up any moves at all, as Snorlax can't go for that curse, which will slow it down, boost its attack and defense. So very, very good taunt right there from Oranguru.
Oranguru moving before the Snorlax even to taunt it, which means, Tomas might not need Trick Room at all in this matchup, even though his team seems so focused towards having that. Snorlax will be forced to attack now every single turn unless Nicholas switches his out, which he could do, but hey, a Z move from that Gyarados?
It's going to be a Supersonic Sky Strike from that Gyarados here. Going to try to get as much damage as possible and even pick up the KO on that Hariyama if it is a target into that Hariyama slot. So the red Gyarados actually does signify that it can have bounce, which is one way for it to access Supersonic Sky Strike. And here we go. That is going to land on that Hariyama, but Hariyama is bulky, but not enough. That is just so much damage from that Supersonic Sky Strike right there.
And Hariyama was really Tomas's best option to knock out that Snorlax. So even though it can't curse, it can certainly start dealing damage with something like the high horsepower.
Yep, and here comes that Trick Room from that Oranguru as Snorlax is forced to attack. And now Tomas has 4 more turns after that previous turn to kind of take advantage of this Trick Room. But again, Snorlax isn't a speed Pokemon either.
It isn't a speed Pokemon, but without the use of a move like Curse that lowers Snorlax's speed by 1 stage, provided that Tomas's Gigalith has been trained so that it's very, very slow, maybe having one of those natures that will decrease its speed and foregoing any sort of special training in that speed stat, it can underspeed the Snorlax. And then it can use a move like Rock Slide or Stone Edge to get the same type attack bonus and try and knock Snorlax out over a couple of turns. Taunt will run out after this next turn, thanks to that little sign that popped up there on the game screen. So something that Tomas has to keep in mind, but Nicholas not even really giving Tomas the option to get that knockout quite yet.
Garchomp is going to switch in, which can take Rock Slides much, much better here as Gyarados protects itself. Not going to want to get hit by a possible 2 Rock Slides thanks to Oranguru's Instruct. And here's the first Rock Slide here, hitting into that Protect on Gyarados, and of course Garchomp taking it just a little bit better than that Snorlax would. Now, the Oranguru going for that Instruct, again, going to make Gigalith go for yet another Rock Slide, going to hit onto Garchomp as well.
I think Nicholas needs to start cycling those Intimidates as we go into the next few turns of this game. The fact that Snorlax is in the back will provide a somewhat safe switch for that Gyarados, so it can leave the field and then return with an Intimidate to lower that Gigalith's attack. The move Instruct will actually have Gigalith use that move twice in a row, so really being able to lower the Gigalith's attack is probably one of Nicholas's priorities right now, unless he has that Porygon 2 lurking in the back of his party that he can send out, possibly in place of that Gyarados, to maybe try and reverse the Trick Room a little bit sooner. Until he's able to underspeed that Gigalith, he always runs the risk of that Rock Slide flinching one of his Pokemon, and because of the Instruct, because Rock Slide is essentially being used twice per turn, that's a really high percentage that you don't want to be risking.
No switch at all as Tomas uses Rock Slide, hits that Gyarados. And one thing about Rock Slide, you going twice, that could possibly mean that Garchomp can flinch. That is an increased chance to flinch thanks to having 2 rock slides, and you can hear the crowd going off right now. Gigalith going for yet another rock slide. This time it is full power. It is even enough to pick up the Garchomp KO. Wow, that Gigalith is doing so much damage.
And we touched on this a little bit before this match started. We've only seen that Gigalith use Rock Slide, and if you were to look at the team sheet up on the Pokemon website, you might know that the Gigalith is holding the Choice Band item, so those Rock Slides are going to be so powerful. Even though Tomas can't pick another move, with Trick Room still up, Arcanine will intimidate the Gigalith, but it's weak to those rocks type attacks. So if this Snorlax can't use that curse to possibly underspeed and try and knock out this Gigalith with something like a high horsepower over the next couple of turns, or if Nicholas can't figure out another way to just let this Trick Room run out, it's going to be a really tough position for him to sort of come back and be able to win this game. Trick Room is such an amazing option on a team like Tomas's, because once it's up, you know that your Gigalith is always going to underspeed, and with a move like Rock Slide, you just give yourself so many opportunities to not have your opponent move.
Yep, and here comes yet another Gigalith Rock Slide. Gonna hit into that Snorlax slot as Arcanine protects, trying to stall out this last turn. Wow, so much damage with a critical hit. Snorlax is going to go ahead and munch away on its berry to heal back 50% of its hit points. So again, that Gigalith is doing so much damage. Snorlax now using Curse, going to slow itself down. But again, one big thing is going to be that defense boost that it's going to get, which will allow it to take these Rock Slides just a little bit better and also set it up to be able to start attacking. Here it is, another Rock Slide from that Gigalith here. Once Trick Room expires, Gigalith can go for flinches on that Snorlax now. Arcanine protecting, preserving it for another turn, but Snorlax dodges that. So here it is, Trick Room should expire by the end of this turn as all Pokemon again take more chip damage from that Sandstorm.
Sandstorm is pretty great for that. It's not always the amount of damage you need to ensure a knockout, but, you know, every little chip closer to that 0 is always going to be, you know, something beneficial. In Nicholas's case, the Snorlax will probably underspeed that Gigalith right now. Again, it depends on how it's trained, but most of the time you can count on that after a curse. Might be a good opportunity for him to target down that Gigalith with the high horsepower, because if Gigalith is knocked out, Oranguru cannot instruct it to do anything, and Tomas just playing it super safe.
Yep, Celesteela has a much better matchup against that Snorlax. Arcanine going for an extreme speed here, going to try to get the KO on Oranguru before it can go move. And here it is. Snorlax goes for his Facade, hits that Oranguru slot, and gets the KO. Big knockout from that Oranguru there. Not able to taunt that Snorlax to prevent it from cursing yet again.
A great prediction by Nicholas there by targeting down that Oranguru. Now that the Twisted Dimensions have returned to normal, Tomas will not be able to set up a second Trick Room. On the other hand, Tomas, we know that the Gigalith will outspeed that Snorlax probably because of that curse. We haven't seen that play out yet, but it's certainly something that is a very safe assumption for Tomas and Nicholas to make right now. So Nicholas needs to figure out, how do I knock out the Gigalith? How do I knock out this Celesteela? Given the fact that, you know, we know that the Gigalith is probably going to get one attack. It's probably going to be one of those Rock Slides, and it's really going to threaten my Arcanine on the field. It might be best to just keep it safe for now.
Arcanine now protecting itself as Celesteela protecting itself as well. Right there, the play was for Tomas to deal with that Arcanine while the Gigalith deals with it and protects Celesteela, but instead Nicholas protects his Arcanine, and here comes another Rock Slide on that Snorlax, bringing it down to a little bit over 50%, and Snorlax using this turn to go for another Recycle. So those curses are paying off. I apologize for the mistake that I made early because that Trick Room actually expired just recently.
No worries.
I counted wrong.
It's hard to keep track. You know, I feel like the developers put that little box in the game just to help everybody out, because there's so much going on right now. Snorlax recycling the berry, though, a very great play.
Don't protect, and Arcanine gets to go for a Flare Blitz onto that Celesteela slot here. Gonna do big damage, but Celesteela can hang on with just a sliver of health right there. Arcanine taking a lot from recoil as Gigalith goes for a Rock Slide. Connects on both Pokemon here, should get the KO on Arcanine, and Snorlax gets chipped away, but is Snorlax going to be able to move here? Because that Snorlax is going to be threatening that Gigalith with a high horsepower. Gigalith does have a very high physical defense stat, but is it going to be enough? But Snorlax goes for a Facade instead, trying to get the KO on that Celesteela. So right now it's down to the Gigalith on Tomas' side versus Nicholas's boosted Snorlax, so this is going to be pretty close. Like I said, if there's a Rock Slide, there's a way.
If there's a Rock Slide, there is a way, but Rock Slide isn't the most accurate move. A high horsepower isn't the most accurate move, so it might come down to a little bit of luck, but on both of these trainers' sides. You know, Tomas needs the rock slide to connect and needs it to flinch probably a couple times.
Here is the first rock slide, connects on Snorlax, still does so much damage as Snorlax uses Recycle here. So it is going to go ahead and heal back 50% of its hit points with that Guava Berry. So again, Tomas still needs to fish for a lot more critical hits.
Yeah, we're probably...
Or flinches.
Crits or flinches, really. Either, I think, will work well. We'll probably see this kind of turn play out a couple more times as we enter sort of the final phase of this game. It really depends on how risky Nicholas wants to play it. I think for now he's playing it very safe, prioritizing the recycles over attacking, which should, barring flinches, give him more turns to try and have a high horsepower connect and hopefully knock out that Gigalith.
Yep, and these players are moving super fast right now. Snorlax recycles, Gigalith goes for a rock slide here. A critical hit should get the KO. Is it going to be a critical hit? It is not. Snorlax hangs on and going to go ahead and eat at that Guava Berry. And now Nick, if the Snorlax flinches, that could be dangerous. Could set him up for something bad later on as Snorlax goes for a high horsepower, connects on that Gigalith, boosted by one stage, but again, that physical bulk from that Gigalith preserves it for yet another turn. So again, gonna need some more flinches here from this Gigalith. The rock slides had to connect, and so does that high horsepower. Here's that rock slide right now. Gonna hit that Snorlax. Gonna still do a lot of damage. Snorlax recycles another berry and eats that Guava Berry immediately. So really, this Snorlax is, you know, taking it easy, kind of relaxing, just enjoying some berries here.
Yeah, it looks like it's relaxing, but really any flinch right now would certainly sort of stop Snorlax from being in such a comfortable spot. I think it's really interesting to note that the Snorlax would need maybe 2 curses to get a one-hit knockout with that high horsepower onto that Gigalith, and that could be something that Nicholas
the high horsepower
looks for.
Connects, and Nicholas Khan gets the Game 1 win over that Gigalith. No flinches right there on Tomas' side, so Nicholas Khan 1 win away from becoming the Junior Division World Champion.
That must be a nice sigh of relief not having any of those rock slide flinches come into play, because there were certainly so many opportunities for it. I don't think Nicholas is going to give that Gigalith as many chances to use rock slide going forward into this game too, because it is a risk. You know, we've seen rock slide win games for so many trainers in situations like that, where otherwise it looks like they wouldn't really have a chance. So I don't think we'll be seeing Trick Room this game. I think that Nicholas probably won't allow Tomas to get Trick Room set up quite as easily with the, you know, the lead with the Fake Out and the Trick Room user. Instead, maybe Nicholas should adjust with the Porygon 2, have him bring his own Trick Room so that he can sort of twist the dimensions in his favor. If the Snorlax gets a couple of those curses up so that it can one-hit knock out that Gigalith, maybe send in the Porygon 2, have it use its own Trick Room so that it works in your favor. Or if you decide to forego the Snorlax, maybe bring something else. I don't think that will be the case, but you can always say, you know what, I don't want Trick Room to be up, and as long as Porygon 2 doesn't flinch from a Rock Slide or is otherwise maybe taunted by that Oranguru, I'm free to reverse Trick Room, and I'm free to make Tomas sort of, you know, play on my own speed field, if you will.
And here we are, players are getting ready to start Game 2. Going into team preview again, one thing that Tomas does learn is that Gyarados is actually carrying that Supersonic Sky Strike, which heavily threatens that Hariyama. You know, in that game, if he had switched out that Hariyama for that Gigalith, that would have changed the game completely, because that would preserve that Hariyama for later on.
It would have, but it would have also gotten a little bit of damage onto that Gigalith, which meant towards the end of the game, it might have just been a knockout for that high horsepower. But it's hard to say how situations like that would play out. I think you can't really think that way about Pokemon. You just got to focus on, well, now I know that the Supersonic Sky Strike is an option for Gyarados to handle my Hariyama. Rather than think about how that would affect the last game, maybe I should just stop it from happening this game.
Yep, I mean, if Tomas ends up in the exact same situation, you know, maybe that is one option for Tomas. Maybe it's just the way the cards play. Celesteela, unfortunately, didn't get to do much that past game, so I wonder if Tomas will maybe either switch out Celesteela or, you know, do some more things with it. And here we go, Game 2 between these two wonderful junior players, Gyarados and Snorlax. The exact same leads for both sides, as Hariyama and Oranguru are the leads for Tomas. So again, this could play out exactly the same as Game 1 right now, right off the bat.
It could, but we know a couple things that we didn't know in the past game. We know that Oranguru really is not threatened right now. If it wants to taunt, it can taunt. If it wants to Trick Room, it can Trick Room. Whereas that Hariyama could be knocked out at any point in time from that Supersonic Sky Strike. Probably not this turn. We know Hariyama has the fake out, might try to fake out the Gyarados, but Gyarados instead just leaving the field, trying to preserve that as an option for later.
Yep, Gyarados did his job right here, intimidating that Hariyama. The fake out lands on that Garchomp slot. Garchomp's Rough Skin will activate as Hariyama takes some damage because of that, and Oranguru again scared of that Snorlax being able to set up, going for a taunt, but is Nicholas going to see through that? Nope, still goes for yet another curse. You know, it's not too bad to try. What if Tomas tried to do something different?
You know, and I don't think that taunt really affected him much in Game 1. It would have given him an opportunity to maybe start threatening that Gigalith a little bit sooner, but overall he was able to make up for that lost time. And switching out to remove the taunt is another way to do that.
Yep, Snorlax now switching out, resetting that taunt, and getting Gyarados back in for yet another Intimidate. So now that Hariyama is actually at 2 stages of decreased attack, essentially having its attack stat as Garchomp goes for an Earthquake, so that switch also allows Garchomp to go for this Earthquake without damaging his own side. That does a lot of damage to that Hariyama and also a little bit of damage to that Oranguru, but here we go. It's going to be an all-out pummeling. It is most likely going to land into what was that Snorlax slot, and that Gyarados does not mind taking all-out pummeling at all. So here we go. There it is, the Fightinium Z activating as the all-out pummeling comes out.
It's surprising to see a Hariyama holding a Fightinium Z crystal. Normally they have the ability Guts, which will raise their attack when affected by some sort of status, and will hold an item like a Burn Orb or a Poison Orb to take advantage of that. Instead here, going for damage, but just not finding it.
Yep, and Oranguru now setting up the Trick Room, so there are going to be 4 more turns after this turn in order to kind of take advantage of having your slow Pokemon come in.
Yes, but it's going to be a very tricky switch for Tomas. With that Garchomp on the field, Oranguru, nothing we've seen from it really can threaten to stop that Earthquake. You know, it doesn't get a move like Wide Guard to protect it. Hariyama can learn it, which, you know, switching out the Oranguru to send in the Gigalith and then Wide Guard to stop the Earthquake would be a great option, but might not be carrying it actually. So Tomas might be forced here to just hope that Nicholas will knock out one of his Pokemon this turn. We already saw that Earthquake deal over half damage to that Hariyama in 1 hit, so that he can send the Gigalith in for free, underspeed that Garchomp, and then hopefully knock it out in 1 go.
Yep, and here comes a close combat from that Hariyama hitting into that Garchomp slot. Still, you know, that Intimidate is paying off so well as Hariyama's defenses are getting dropped now. Garchomp's Rough Skin again activating and again chipping away at that Hariyama. Here comes a Side Shock from that Oranguru. Gonna connect onto that Garchomp. Gonna bring it down to about 40%, and here comes a Supersonic Sky Strike from that Gyarados. Gonna get ready to pounce on that Hariyama or even on that Oranguru to get the KO.
I don't think Nicholas needs the Supersonic Sky Strike for a KO, though. So on the one hand, you might look at it as, well, yes, he's being able to knock out one of the Pokemon on Tomas's side of the field, but on the other hand, you know, that's what Tomas wants. With this Oranguru gone, you know, yes, oh, never mind.
Yep, Garchomp, that puts it in range for the Garchomp Earthquake, though, so here it comes. That Earthquake is going to go ahead and knock out the Hariyama and the Oranguru, so now Tomas down to his final 2 Pokemon in this tournament, and this could be it. Nicholas Khan might be in good position to seal the deal here in Game 2 of the World Championships Finals.
If it's that Torkoal and that Gigalith combination, though, I think Nicholas still has a bit of a battle ahead of him. Again, we know that the Gigalith has Rock Slide. We know that it's Choice Banded. That Celesteela is known for playing a very long game. If Nicholas doesn't have a Pokemon in the back to sort of help it out, you know, when paired with this Gigalith, especially with Trick Room up, Gigalith can open up opportunities for Celesteela to use Leech Seed to steal the health of Nicholas's Pokemon, to sort of work its way slowly through the party so that by the time it's down to maybe a 2-on-1 situation, we know one of those Pokemon is Snorlax. We know that it's only, most likely its only attacking move that can hit the Celesteela is that Facade. It's just not going to be able to do a lot.
Garchomp now switching out, gonna save it for later. It does have a good matchup against that Gigalith, as Gyarados gonna preserve itself as well, gonna protect itself and not get KO'd from a possible Rock Slide. Gigalith now going for a Rock Slide. It is going to hit that Snorlax here. Without that Curse Boost, we'll be taking a little bit more damage as Snorlax gets taken down about 40% of its hit points. Celesteela now going for a Heavy Slam. It is going to hit that Snorlax. Is it going to activate the Berry? It is going to be able to activate that Guava Berry. So that's good information to have. You know, the Rock Slide and that Heavy Slam might be able to get the KO coming into the next turn. Gonna force Nicholas to recycle with that Snorlax if he wants to preserve for later on.
It's going to force him to recycle, but if he uses Curse this turn, he'll actually underspeed that Gigalith going into the next turn. So it might seem like a little bit of a gamble, I think, but overall, the long-term effect will be if he's able to get this one Curse, he's guaranteed a recycle.
Gyarados now switching out. Going to switch in Garchomp, which takes those Rock Slides much, much better. But again, this Gigalith does a lot of damage because it's carrying that Choice Band. Here it is, a Rock Slide going to connect on Garchomp and Snorlax. Again, so much damage. And Snorlax does go for the Curse right here to allow that Snorlax to underspeed the Gigalith next turn and allow it to possibly set up a Recycle. And again, well, Snorlax with one Curse, it's kind of scary under Trick Room as Celesteela goes for Leech Seed, but Snorlax avoids it. So there you go, Celesteela really trying to set up for that end game, trying to stay on the field as long as it possibly can, but unfortunately for Tomas, it misses.
It's unfortunate, but it wasn't required. It would have been a nice to have. Really, the required thing right now is that Tomas is able to knock out that Garchomp before the end of the Trick Room.
Yep, and here comes Snorlax using its Recycle. It's going to go ahead and find an Aguav Berry and eat it back up and heal back 50% of its hit points thanks to that Gluttony ability, which has been so good in this format. Here it is, Gigalith going for another Rock Slide, going to connect onto Garchomp, get the KO there, and still do a good amount of damage to that Snorlax. Celesteela now will be able to move, going to go for a Leech Seed, and it finally does connect on that Snorlax, so now it might come down to a Celesteela and a Celesteela Snorlax endgame, possibly.
Possibly. We'll have to see. I think we're a few turns out from being able to confidently say what will happen. You do have to wonder if Nicholas has brought that Arcanine. We haven't seen it quite yet, but now that Trick Room has expired, if he wanted to start using Intimidate after Intimidate after Intimidate to lower Gigalith's attack power slowly, it would be a great time to do so. The Gyarados will start that process, intimidating both that Gigalith and that Celesteela. For Tomas, I think he has to worry a little bit about that Gigalith, but not quite yet. We know that the Snorlax only has one Curse. We saw Gigalith survive the high horsepower, so barring something like a critical hit, Gigalith should be able to at least try and attack that Gyarados once.
Gyarados now protecting a Celesteela, goes for a Heavy Slam into that Snorlax slot right now. It is going to do a little bit of damage. Snorlax is also a very heavy Pokemon. Gigalith now going for a Rock Slide. If Snorlax... Snorlax avoids it, and Snorlax goes for the high horsepower. Going to connect onto that Gigalith and put it within waterfall range for that Gyarados. So a great play right there from Nicholas to preserve that Gyarados.
A great play and really just great positioning for him. You know, dodging the Rock Slide was almost icing on the cake there. Just one less thing he has to worry about. Even though Snorlax's health is getting low, we know something because of the Choice Band item the Gigalith cannot protect. So unfortunately for Tomas, there's really nothing he can do to stop the waterfall or other attack from that Gyarados to connect with that Gigalith for a knockout.
Here it is, the waterfall connects on that Gigalith, and that is another KO for Nicholas, and Tomas down to his final Pokemon. It is going to be Celesteela, but of course there could be that Arcanine hiding in the back. Celesteela going for a Heavy Slam now onto that Snorlax, does almost get the KO, leaps, no! Snorlax goes for a Recycle instead and is going to heal all the way back up.
Yes, unfortunately for Celesteela, it loves playing these very, slow, stally kind of games. We saw a lot of it yesterday, but when it's facing a Pokemon that does have access to recovery, such as recycling a berry or like a recovered Gastrodon like we saw last night, it just means it has to keep stalling for more and more time. And this Celesteela might not have the tools it needs to be able to, take this 3-on-1, especially if there is that Arcanine in the back. Arcanine gets access to Flare Blitz, Flamethrower, so many very powerful fire-type moves that Celesteela doesn't have an answer for.
Ooh, and Gyarados avoids that Leech Seed as Snorlax goes for a Recycle here. Gonna go ahead and find that Aguav Berry and set up just to make sure that all of his outs, all of his options are still present on that table with that Snorlax. So again, this is an uphill battle for Tomas' Celesteela. Again, that Arcanine could also just be hiding in the back for Nicholas.
Nicholas is certainly keeping whatever's in the back safe, and I think that's a really smart play for him. He doesn't need it where he's at right now in this game. He's been very smart about preserving his Snorlax, making sure that he's always holding that Aguav Berry so that on the off chance his health does dip below 50%, it can go right back up. In terms of the Gyarados, it could just switch out.
Yep, and here it comes. It's actually Tapu Koko. sorry, we were wrong. It's not Arcanine in the back. It is going to be that Tapu Koko. So Nicholas did make some adjustments, but this Tapu Koko in that electric terrain is not going to mind facing off against this Celesteela at all. Celesteela does set up a leech seed onto that Tapu Koko slot, so it will be recovering just a little bit more. You know, depending on how this Celesteela is trained, it can survive a couple attacks, but again, I don't think it will be able to outstall how much damage that Tapu Koko can put out.
No, I mean, Tapu Koko, it's a different Pokemon from the Arcanine, but the effect is almost the same. The electric terrain, because Tapu Koko makes contact with the ground, will boost its already very powerful electric attacks, such as Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. Sometimes you'll even see a Tapu Koko run something like a Thunder. So if Nicholas has a way to just deal a lot of damage in one turn with that Tapu Koko, you know, it would really be a great option for him to do so. Tomas's only choice here is just to keep slowing this game down as much as he can.
And here we go. Celesteela just going to try to stall out. The Thunderbolt's going to try to stall out the Leech Seeds here. It is going to get one more turn of recovery. It is already at full health, but again, the important part is that you're sapping away the health from that Tapu Koko.
Yes, even though you're not really benefiting from it yourself, this is really Celesteela's form of offense. Those heavy slams, I mean, to a Tapu Koko, because its defenses aren't that great, will do a respectable amount of damage. But for something like Snorlax...
Ooh, no double protect there from that Celesteela. Tapu Koko goes for a Thunderbolt. Boosted by that electric terrain, Celesteela hangs on with just a sliver of health. Here comes the Facade from that Snorlax with a boosted curse. It does get the KO. Celesteela, and Nicholas Khan is your 2017 Pokemon video game world champion in the junior division.